Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Beautiful day today we had, so nothing better than being here tonight. So, all right, we call roll call, please.
Councilmember Hatfield.
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard. Here. Councilmember Wong.
Here.
Councilmember McGraw.
Here.
Mayor Winchell.
Peter. Moves us to item 4, adopting the agenda. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hubbard to adopt the agenda. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Moves us to visitor presentation. And this is an opportunity for people to come and present to council. We try to limit these segments to 5 minutes. And I just, no council action is taken at visitor presentation. So this is just an opportunity for people to come and whether it's tell a story or just talk to us in general about something that's going on. So with that, I have Representative Nash first. I know he's probably busy, but I don't see him, so we'll have to, if he comes later, we'll bring him forward. We usually try to give those guys a little extra time there because we don't get them here that often, so, but I don't know, we'll see what happens. So next on my list is Maria's voice, Sara Silva.
Hi, thank you. I'm kind of a short version of Sara. She's like 6 feet tall.
Oh.
So, hi, I'm Lissa Weimel, and I am the founder of Maria's Voice, along with my husband, Bill Pugh, who's right back there. And we are both Chaska residents as well. And I really want to thank you so much for really giving us some time to talk about a really important topic for our city and many others, which is domestic violence prevention education. Slide 2, please. Like many nonprofits, Maria's Voice was formed in response to a personal or a family tragedy. Our daughter, Maria Pugh, was murdered in her home in Maple Grove 2 years ago by her husband. Actually, it was 3 years ago. She was in a new marriage. She was very excited about her future. But instead, Maria was one of 28 people murdered in domestic violence in 2020, just in Minnesota alone. So what we've learned since Maria's death is that we are like a lot of families. We knew nothing about domestic violence. We didn't know that the people who choose to abuse have behaviors, common behaviors, repetitive behaviors that can be recognized and named. We did not know that the business community loses 8 million days of paid work in the U.S. in 1 year alone. We were really kind of unaware about the amount of time that the police spend responding to dangerous and really unpredictable domestic violence calls. And of course, we did know that shelters are overwhelmed and unable to keep up. Yet Bill and I asked ourselves late one night, very soon after Maria's death, what can we do to prevent another family from being in our shoes? Slide 3. Our reply turned into Maria's Voice Prevention Network. Domestic violence thrives in silence. It thrives because really caring people like you and me and our friends and our co-workers and really good people that we sit next to in our faith communities, most of us have never been educated to understand or recognize the signs of domestic violence. Nor have we ever been educated about what kind word we can say or word of concern we can offer to someone who may be in need. The Maria's Voice Prevention Network fills that gap in awareness by providing educational materials to large groups, like cities, who then share that education with their employees as part of a wellness program. So we talked to the Chaska Rotary, and we're lucky enough to meet Matt and the Police Chief Ryan. They heard about our national award-winning prevention education video, which is available in Spanish and English, and they got to see a lot of our print material that's available in other cities right now, in City Hall, city trucks, public restrooms, the police department, or where any place the public gathers and can obtain information. Slide 4, please. We're a public health model. We do public health work. Our strategy is called primary prevention, and the goal of primary prevention is to reach as many people as possible before any violence occurs with education and awareness. So let me tell you how that affects Chaska. A public health model is that each one of us interacts with about 8 people per day. You guys probably do more than that. So if we take that to the 160 employees in the city of Chaska, they could extend their awareness of domestic violence prevention education to the 1,280 personal interactions they have every day, each and every day, with their coworkers, their family, their friends, customers they see throughout the city of Chaska, clients and neighbors. So awareness leads to education. Awareness and education leads to the prevention model. Domestic abuse is preventable. That is one of the powers of the prevention network. So after the Rotary meeting, slide 5, please, Maria's Voice met with the city team, including HR and communications. They checked us out thoroughly with their network, and after a number of discussions, the city of Chaska joined the Maria's Voice Prevention Network. So congratulations, and we're just so happy that you have done such a progressive action. We are now working with HR and administration to get domestic violence prevention education on your wellness site and fully launched to your 160 employees. So we're really grateful to live in this community where you care so much about the health, wellness, and safety of employees and the community that they interact with on a daily basis. This program puts a safety zone around the folks that you know by having aware family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers. So we also think that the Prevention Network really invests in, kind of reinvests in your core values and assets, like your employees and your citizens. You already have a robust wellness program. You do heart health, mental health accessibility, and you also support the personal goals of your employees. But by adding domestic violence prevention education to kind of your wellness menu, the city of Chaska really delivers when you say you promote a culture of care about the safety and health of employees who work here, and of course, all the people in the city that you serve. So just to let you know a little bit more about what we'll be doing, we're going to be out in the community because that's part of a public health model, is to be aware and create some awareness surrounding you. So we're going to be at River City Days for 3 days in our expo booth. And in that, we have a really fun educational activity for kids. We've been asked to produce materials for children, so we're doing that now. And that features Maria's dog, our 100-pound, really friendly black lab, Rocky. And Rocky and his squad have adventures, they have a conflict, and they resolve that conflict through positive behaviors and goodness, just by being a really good friend. So be sure, come and join us at River City Days, and I'll give you or your grandkids or your friend or your neighbor a Rocky color book. We should maybe have a city council, maybe a little competition for who can do the best color book. So I really want to thank you for being receptive. I really want to just praise you for just doing such a great action for your employees and for the community, and really honestly for being progressive leaders and for being really in this with us, because really we believe in our heart that together we can prevent domestic violence. So thank you. I'll take any questions you might have, or
You know, one thing I'll just mention quick about our wellness program. The wellness program, we've been sort of increasing different programs and activities that we have as part of that. You know, it started sort of simply as just, you know, physical wellness, and it's really sort of grown beyond that. One of the things that concerns me, especially when we have as many employees as we do at the city, is a lot of times people, like, if there is something happening at home, their only safe place to, you know, be able to share that is at work. And so we want to be able to train our employees to understand what some of those signals might be. And I think you described it very well about, it's not that they're the ones that are going and solving the issue. It's how do they take that information and actually do something productive with it to be able to help intervene in a situation where somebody else may not be able to. The other thing that they worked with the city of Maple Grove on sort of putting this together with their police department up there. And another one that they created was, I think he called it a boot card.
Yeah, a shoe card.
Shoe card,
Yeah.
shoe card. But it's really for, we have a lot of employees that spend the majority of their day out in the community, out in the field. And, you know, the story that was shared with us was a utility worker up in Maple Grove, a resident approached them when they were out in the field and basically expressed that, hey, I got something not great going on. It was a safe person to talk to. They brought it back. They had no idea what to do with this information and stuff. So it's also trying to provide some useful information to people who might be in the field and come across these types of things. So it's really, you know, internally it's to help us look out for our own employees, to make sure that people feel like when they're at work, they have a safe place that they can share this information. And then if we have employees that are out in the field, that we have people that are trained and have information that if they run into a community member that they feel like they have no other option than to talk to that employee, that they at least know where to go with that information.
And our information to follow up, Matt, thank you. It was just really such a great example of what we do. It refers to professional resources. So we don't expect your employees to be heroic. We just expect your employees to have a kind word of concern about their fellow coworker, and then be able to present professional resources to them. We have almost all of our materials are in English and Spanish. So we really are looking at what is an accessibility issue to professionals who can intervene and help. But very often, as survivors have told us in the last 3 years, it's the word of someone who sits next to them at work, at church, in their book club, in the grocery store, places you guys can't even believe that people have pretty intimate conversations because people are really looking for help. So these conversations just say, yeah, I have a resource. Here it is. It's on this card. So again, thank you. I'll make sure all of you get printed materials as well, and we'll provide access to our videos so we can all be educated together. Great. And thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Did anyone have any questions?
I guess the only thing I want to say is just, I really commend and admire your courage to stand before a group of people and talk about your story, and it affects everybody, and it affects so many households. And I think it's great that River City Days you're focusing on the children, because when you grow up in a home that has domestic violence, you don't really know that something's not right until
Right.
someone else points out that something's not right. And you think behaviors that are not good are normal. And so I think that advocacy is really helpful to have those tools in place.
Thank you. I agree with that. And a lot of our materials, especially for kids, don't even talk about domestic violence. They just talk about how do you resolve behaviors that are conflicts, because those behaviors go later into life. There's one other quickie thing too, that on our website, there's really information for people who may choose to abuse and who also come to that same awareness. Wow, I didn't really know my behavior is abusive. And there are places for them to get help, and there are a way for them to repair relationships that they have. So our referral to resources also includes that as well.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great,
Do you come and then kind of explain the program to our HR department? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so they
Okay.
basically come in and do all the setup and sort of train the trainer sort of model, and then we provide it through, we have a portal for our employee wellness program that people then can take the training online through that portal.
I was kind of wondering how that would work with.
Yeah,
versus-
so it's online, no big meetings, no necessity to, get 160 people together, so it's all really easily adaptable to a very flexible schedule, people working at home, people working in the office.
And one thing as part of our wellness program is we created it as an incentive program, so we incent people to participate in our wellness program. And I remember when we first started out, we probably had 40% of people participating. We had, 88% last
say it was
year
close
of
to-
employees that participated and actually completed our wellness program last year.
Oh.
And so it's pretty heavily used now. It's actually, just sort of looking at things like health insurance and things like that, we've seen decreases in the I don't want to say we haven't seen increases, but we've seen less increases than we used to see in the past. But we have a lot of people participating in it, and we incent them by saying that they either get a wellness day at the end of the year, so if they complete it, they get 8 hours, or they get a certain amount per check that goes towards, they could spend it towards wellness equipment and stuff. But that's one of the things that we were talking about is that, that it also helps to get people to do this stuff if we have a program that incents them to actually do that.
Yeah, the best wellness programs have an incentive attached, so people actually do the work and learn the material, and hopefully drive down your insurance costs at the same time.
I have one quick question. So, so the program's for all Chaska employees, right? And so, members of the police department, for example, they're probably the most likely to go out and actually see or meet someone in the public who actually may be a victim and seeking help, right? So I assume that all of the resources and all of these are also available to anyone they encounter who may need help, as well as other resources that we can provide, right?
Yeah, it's sort of interesting, though. We talked about this. By the time it gets to the police department, it's too late.
Yeah,
Fire
It's
would be
visible.
more, sometimes fire is first.
it's the
Yeah.
invisible that I think they're
Right.
focusing on, and
Try to catch
that's,
it earlier in
So
the
all
cycle.
emergency
Everywhere.
services,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the focus of primary prevention, is that you tell lots and lots of people versus telling maybe the 30% that are victimized, you tell the 70% that aren't. So those people can be support, they can be the lifeline, they can offer help and resources. So it's really about how many people can you reach and how quickly can you reach them prior to violence so that they have resources so they can either avoid that relationship or they can get out of that relationship before things get dangerous.
Because this program is basically, it's not meant to be the one that intervenes if there is an issue. It's meant to teach people the signs of what the issue is. We work with the Sexual Violence Center, which is the group that we actually, our police department would get intervened into a situation if there was actually, which happens quite often, where there'll be an issue and then they get them referred to. They're the ones that provide the service once it's actually known that there's an issue that's there.
Right.
So this would be the sort of these symptomatic things that are leading up to it before it escalates into,
Right.
into that.
There are 12 common signs of domestic violence, and these behaviors are very, very, very repeated. So you can be pretty much anywhere around the country and around the world, and the signs of isolation are really going to be the same. The signs of financial abuse are going to be the same. They may be acted out a little bit differently and in a different language, but really, honestly, they're worldwide. It's just a remarkable, unfortunate phenomenon.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website, and it's amazing to think about, domestic violence often escalates, that kind of chart you have there, and even looking at the beginning, those are things you experience when you're dating someone that you can be like, whoa, this is too much, this might be a bad sign. And I think that's what's really incredible, because there's so much of that when it can be caught then.
Right.
They don't even have to get too far down the road. That's
The number one group victimized by domestic violence is 18 to 25, and that's the age when you think about it, you're going to college, you're dating, you're away from your parents, you don't have a peer group, you may have a different peer group, so you're really vulnerable during that time to behaviors that can escalate really quickly. Yeah.
Well, I want to echo Councilmember Hubbard's comments as well, that, it takes a lot of courage to come and continue to tell that story and always relive what happened within your family. It takes a lot, but you can hear the passion in your voice, how important this is, and the way you want to, just where you've been and how you've gone about this. So, I don't know if it's fair to say congratulations, but thank you for doing what you're doing. And
Yeah, thank you.
Like I said, it takes a lot, and
Well, and thank you for
commend
all
you.
being receptive and for being so welcoming and for using a program that's intended to work. So we're glad that it's not sitting on a shelf, it's really going to be used and supported. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks again.
Right, anything else there? Nope, good. All right, next I have National Gun Violence Awareness Day, Jenna Cruz.
hello.
Hello.
I just want to take a second to thank you for the work that you're doing. This was not planned. A lot of the work that I'm doing intersects with the work that she's doing.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, so
That's unusual,
That-
unusual to have them at the same time.
Right, yeah. So anyways, thank you. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about Gun Violence Awareness Day and Wear Orange, which is coming up in June. I have a lot of Moms Demand Action volunteers here tonight. It's a growing group in Carver County, unfortunately, because of all the gun violence we're experiencing. You can go to the next slide. So real quick, Moms Demand Action is a grassroots movement of volunteers across the country working to get legislation passed. And then the biggest thing is working locally with city businesses, our communities, trying to prevent gun violence. I'm just going to throw in real quick to add on to their point. Women are 5 times more likely to experience gun violence in their home when a gun is present. Firearms are the #1 leading cause of death for children in the United States. And as a mother of 4, that's what brought me to this work. That's why I'm passionate about it. That statistic should not exist, nor should the fact that every day 120 Americans are killed with guns. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going ahead on my slides. I'm not giving the cues. Next slide. Minnesota statistics, 73% of gun deaths in Minnesota are by suicide. So while mass shootings, murders, they get a lot of media play, but what should be talked about more is this statistic. It's 73%. And I know a lot of people in here probably know someone or have been affected by gun violence, especially when it comes to suicide. It's also a topic not talked a lot about because families tend to keep that information close. Economic costs, it costs $6.6 billion in Minnesota, gun violence does. $105 million is paid by taxpayers, and that's approximately $1,300, I think, per person. Next slide. These are just other statistics. I'm not going to go over all of them, but mainly around suicide. Cities and states with the strongest gun violence prevention laws have about half the rate of people who die by gun suicide as those in states with the weakest laws. And young people have the fastest growing firearm suicide rates of any age group over the last decade. And that brings us to the next slide. Wear Orange Weekend is June 2nd to 3rd. The first Friday of June is National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And that Wear Orange started after a Chicago young woman died playing on a playground. Her name was Hadia Pendleton. And then her family and friends started this in 2015, and they picked orange because it's the color hunters wear to protect themselves. So as a symbol of see us, protect us, and this is just picked up nationwide. You'll see a lot of events around the Twin Cities around Wear Orange. And now Carver County. Next slide. So I have 3 asks, which I know aren't happening right this moment, but just to think about. I printed off a proclamation for everyone. So I'm asking the city signs this proclamation that declares the first Friday in June National Gun Violence Awareness Day. The second ask is that the city lights up Fireman's Park in orange. I know they've done this for other kind of awareness things. I'd be happy to cover the cost, but it's June 2nd to 3rd, and that's to honor the lives lost from gun violence. And then to also just raise awareness via social media in any aspect that you can. Lastly, gun violence disproportionately affects communities of color due to longstanding social inequities. Through efforts such as crime prevention through environmental design, cities have the opportunity to empower their residents to take over spaces such as vacant lots, areas that kind of promote crime, poorly lit areas. So to just keep this in mind and turn these spaces into a beautiful space that communities can be proud of. And that I ask that you use this approach to crime prevention and kind of think outside the box. Again, a lot of media around mass shootings, but I think what's missing from the conversation is what we can do in our own communities to prevent crime and to prevent gun violence. And it, like I said, it empowers residents to feel proud of where they're living Everyone deserves to have the same access to bike paths and bike trails and affordable housing, and in turn that decreases crime and gun violence in ways that you don't really always put those together. So yeah, I will take questions if you have any.
Questions for Jenna?
I don't have any questions, just thank you so much for being here. It is interesting that both things, topics tonight for visitor
Yeah.
presentations are very directly correlated to one another, and
Yep.
I didn't know about wearing orange, so that was really a nice educational piece
Yeah.
for that, so.
Yep.
Is that fairly new? I hadn't not,
Yeah, it started in 2015 after that young woman was shot, but it's kind of lit up all over the country,
okay.
but kind of spreading each year bigger and bigger.
One thing I'll just point out, I mean, of the three S, the last one is a broader one that takes a longer time to sort of just look at those, and we can take a look at those. And quite frankly, we do when we sort of look at how do we maintain properties that are vacant. All those things matter as far as, I mean, we can see more crime in areas where they're not paid attention to, there's no doubt. But that's probably, more, longer term to look at that. But the one thing I will point out is that we do not have a council meeting again before June 2nd. And I know
Yeah.
you guys don't typically take action on things, but I just wanted to point it out if you guys were wanting to take some kind of action on it prior to June 2nd.
What's it, you mean like tonight, or what would that
Yeah,
look like?
we don't have another meeting until June 5th.
So the next meeting would be after it.
Would
so
be
if-
after
So
it.
if we wanted to take a resolution tonight, it would have to be tonight, really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted it before the event, it'd have to be tonight.
I see no
Sometimes we
reason why
forget
can't.
about it because we got
Yeah.
Memorial
I mean,
Day.
I'm supportive of it. But
To that third point, that's exactly what I meant, is just going forward to have that lens on when you're thinking of planning, like I know the bike trails happening and all of the planning that goes into, what areas we invest in, and that one wasn't an immediate ask.
Also, just that third one, just like thematically, it's a very reasonable thing, because it seems like it's like just baking into the culture of what we do on a day-to-day basis. To
Right.
say like, hey, if you see something that looks unsafe, seems unsafe, make
Right.
it so it doesn't look like a place where it would draw that type of activity, right?
Well,
So-
and even, I'll
a
point
good
out
thing.
is, even as like, and Brian Jung and I talk about this all the time as our public works director, like, he'll even think about how do we create places where people don't hide?
Yeah.
I mean, that you create places that are out of sight, and they seem like a great idea until later on stuff happens. So we do think about that stuff as we're sort of looking at how to design parks, how to design trails, those types of things.
I think part of it is, our police department's been real active in the neighborhood watch, and I think that's what really helps. It's hard for our law enforcement to take care of all that themselves, so it really needs, and that's kind of what you're saying, is it
Right.
needs the community to be watching out and
Yep.
watching your neighbor and watching this, and we all know what Ring doorbells have done for us about
Right.
seeing things and all the things that are out there. There are a lot of options that are really happening, and we kind of forget about, but
Yep.
a lot of those things are taking place at this point, and I feel good around here that things are, for the most part, pretty good, but it doesn't take long for things to change either,
Right.
so.
And I'll add too, I had the opportunity to sit on a different board with Chaska PD, and they are doing great things with community outreach, and I think that will have a big effect too on the comfort of communities being able to report things and feeling comfortable going to their police. So they're doing great work. Can you go to my last slide real quick? Sorry, I forgot about the cutest slide of my kids. And the last statistic is the cities with the most parks and or walkable neighborhoods have about half the rate of people who die by gun suicide as cities with the least. That's my daughter at Fire and Ice last year. That's my son last week, enjoying a smoothie at the Taste of Chaska. So I just want to thank you all for the work that goes into those events, because they also, you don't think about it, but bringing communities together like this prevents crime.
It's funny, Marshall shares this stat with me all the time.
Yeah.
And he's our
Marshall is our
park
park
and rec
Okay,
director,
yeah.
shares this stat with me all the time. And actually, one of the things that the Rotary just got a grant for, I don't know, it was a week and a half ago, and we're doing it on June 3rd, is a massive tree planting event that we're gonna be doing in June, and that's the other statistic out there is communities that actually go and plant trees.
The green spaces.
And green
Yep.
spaces actually see decrease in actual crime out there.
Yes.
So there's sort of and that was actually when the Rotary went for the actual grant, that was part of the statistics that were put in the grant, is to talk about how it keeps communities safer.
Yep.
I think that's
And her-
important this month, especially with May being Mental Health Awareness Month,
Right.
that it's important to talk about these topics.
Yep.
A lot of these topics all tie together.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, anything else for Jenna?
Thank you for all the work you guys are doing on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we do this right now?
We
It's
can
up to you
do
guys.
whatever, all it takes is the
Do we have to
council.
amend the
Do we have to
agenda,
actually have a vote for it? Because it's an action now?
We don't vote for proclamations normally, do we?
No, we typically do. We typically bring them back to council meetings to actually have them approved, and then they're read. I would suggest if you're going to have a proclamation to get approved, and, then we can certainly put it out on social media after that, because it's a little bit different that typically we would have a meeting
Yeah, we'd have.
in between, and so then we'd be able to, take a little bit more action on it. But if the council wanted to meet this deadline, we could find other ways to get this out there. And then also, we can do the lights orange at the.
We can do that?
Oh, yeah.
It has a
That's
landscape.
super simple to do,
I
but,
figured it should have the orange.
yeah, no,
skin.
that's
on
the great thing
properties.
about LED lights. We can make it whatever color you want to, so. But we can certainly do that. And so if you guys wanted to do that just to officially adopt it, then we could find a way to get it out on social media, and then we'll let the community know why it's lit up orange on that night.
Okay.
Okay.
So we would still need a motion, a second, to approve the proclamation, to put it
Yeah.
out June 1st.
Yep.
So could I?
Second.
So,
I mean, I'm not seconding, I'm saying June 2nd.
Yeah, you can
Okay,
second.
No, I
I
can't
would
say
like
it.
to make a motion to adopt a proclamation that declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
I'll second.
Second.
I got 2 seconds. So I have a motion and 2 seconds to approve the June 1st as National, I want to get the right terminology, National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and have staff write up a proclamation.
Well, we'll just use this
We're going to use the one that,
Yep.
so there was one given to us, so we'll go ahead and use the one that was given to us, and we'll go out, and then we're going to light up Fireman's Park orange that night, and we'll have out information through our city website, communications pages. Is that all part of your motion?
Yes, I
I thought I heard her say that.
Yeah,
said it
I was
all.
thinking that.
I was,
It's very quick.
I was pretty much thought that's what you said.
read my mind.
Okay. All right. With that, we have a motion by Councilmember Hubbard, second by Councilmember Hatfield and Wong. So, further discussion.
I feel left out.
Yeah, you
I
are
like
left
left
out.
out in the second now, but 3 seconds. I can't even see it. Okay, so we'll just leave it as is.
3 seconds is too long. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you again.
Thank you all so much.
Yep.
This means a lot.
What would you like a picture of? I'm not sure. But yes, they can come up here and take a picture if that's what you're looking
Alan,
for.
say-
First council meeting, but can I have a picture with everybody?
Wait, let's get the vote first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we
let's
have to
take
vote.
We have to take the vote first so we don't lose that where we're at. All right, last call. Any further discussion? Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. I don't think we need to talk about it much. It's all over the news now. We don't, it's here. you know, it's all around us. So, with that, got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Both same sign. Motion carries.
You want to take a short recess to take a picture?
If you want to come all up here and take pictures, or you
take a
want-
picture of you
probably
guys.
come around
Yeah,
back.
I was just gonna say, we should take a picture of you guys up here.
Probably just come in and fill around the back is the best.
Thank you all.
Yep, absolutely.
How was your time abroad?
Yeah, kids, sneak in here.
I have
Push this down.
Yeah, just
I know, you guys.
spread out. You might have
I'm like kind
to
of slouched.
be, you might have to stagger between.
Good posture, right? Come on, stand up tall. Good posture.
Whoa.
What a good night.
You guys gotta give us
Everybody in?
pre-warning. Are we ready for pictures?
for him to go. You want me to say cheese?
Yeah.
Cheese!
Fingers over the
All right,
lens.
hold on. John's getting one too. Step left, Kevin. He's going for the artistic
They want you to
angle.
lay down in front,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. And then I got one more phone here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. There.
Hold on. One more.
Awkward smiling about this.
Everybody forgot how to share pictures.
There's nothing like already having it on your phone.
It does.
There's nothing like already having it on your phone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
John, see you're left out. You're right off the screen. See that? Looks because you're left
Can't
out.
get anybody to stay, huh?
No one wants to stay for this riveting.
Everybody the rest of this meeting?
All right, we'll try to pull this back together. With that, anybody else for visitor presentation? Kevin, anybody online?
I mean, not that I saw.
Poor Kevin.
I thought you were back there. I thought you got back there quick.
Run on back.
Let him out of his cage.
And Representative Nash, nobody sees him anywhere? Nope.
Do not.
Okay.
Mike, you want to be Representative Nash tonight? No?
I won't say anything. What's that? Okay. All right, we'll move to item 6, approving previous meeting minutes. And that is from 5/1 of 2023. Again, if there are no corrections or additions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. All right, moves to 7, consent items. These are all items that need our approval, but not necessarily conversation, but any and all can be brought forward and talked about if anyone has a question. So with that, is there anyone that has any questions or comments regarding consent items 7A through 7I?
I have one question. On 7H in Rivertown Heights, this shows the curve and like a ghost plat for where the development kind of ends and gets cut off. And so in that curve, will there be signage indicating that's future development once, since those streets terminate at that junction there, or
Yeah.
terminate there?
I'll let Liz or Nate take that one.
Your question was if
Will there
there's
be signs?
signage?
We already have that.
Yeah,
We already did that.
Just
Anywhere a street dead ends, we put a sign
yeah,
out.
just double checking that. because
I
of
just got a head nod from Mike over there, so sounds like the message was heard.
Just making sure,
We'll make sure there's a sign.
because I know that it's old.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'm just asking, right?
No, it's a good ask, but like I said, I thought we already had approved that whole process. So, okay.
That's the only question I had, so.
All right, anyone else? Questions on consent? All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve consent.
Motion to approve consent?
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield,
Second.
second by Councilmember Grau. You finally got in.
Thanks.
Atta boy. To approve consent. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries.
Just one real quick thing, since John Kellen's here. I want to thank John and Brian Jung for working their,
Oh, this is
they worked
I was
their
wondering why you were-
butts off to get this clubhouse and maintenance building down to a point where it's actually economically feasible to build it.
John, you silly goose.
They did
Oh,
it.
John, why don't you come on up here? We can't hear you back there. We can't hear you back there, nor can the other people. You have to come up here.
I met your grandson today.
They deserve a ton of credit for that. They've been working for the last several months on that.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I know, it sounds like they were able to get it really back down to where our original bid price was. And it's crazy, as this world is with construction costs and lumber and everything associated with it. It's a unique way to get a project done, hiring our own kind of a private project manager that's really not a project manager. but
Well,
it's
we're the
per se.
general then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but, and I think Tim is gonna do an excellent job. Very conscious and very, community orientated, so it's kind of a nice fit, so
Yep.
that'll be cool. So when are we looking at, would that start, or we're gonna,
Starts this fall, right?
Yeah, when
this-
can we golf?
Why don't you come up and give just a schedule?
Gotcha up there.
get you up here?
All right.
Yeah, I wanna play on those.
Your name,
little
sir?
land greens.
John Kellen,
Oh, and your title?
head golf professional,
Oh.
At
nice
which
to
golf
see you.
course?
the Chaska Town Course.
You have a big tournament coming next year?
Very, yeah,
That's for another time,
yes.
okay.
Let's see here, hopefully break ground, maybe as early as this week, start moving some stuff in over there.
Oh,
since
really?
this thing's
Right away? Oh,
Ready to go. Completion around Labor Day. And
You talking about for the clubhouse?
for the clubhouse.
Oh, okay.
And really, a lot of discussion to be had yet on when the course will open.
are they gonna build the maintenance shed in the clubhouse?
Consecutively, yep. As soon as one crew is done, like the first crew comes in, does the clubhouse, like the hard surfaces, they'll go immediately over to the maintenance building. So,
Is the maintenance building gonna be in the back?
yep,
Yep.
same place. So that was part of the cost savings, is those crews don't have to relocate twice. They're there and go from one site to the next.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, seriousness, the actual opening day of the loop is still up in the air?
Still up in the air. The turf will probably be ready end of July, and then it's a matter of if we're gonna do temporary facilities or not. So we're looking at some options. Space is a big constraint over there.
You're gonna have to send some kids out there. I went there Saturday to look, and there was a deer walking all over the Himalaya green.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's leaving divots.
Yep. There's some people playing golf over there, so,
Oh, there is.
yeah. We're gonna
Like
get
they're sneaking?
we're gonna get a big fence.
I wish I would've thought of that.
We could talk to Chief Ryan. We got that fence contract.
Yeah, mobilize it.
Yes.
But very, very exciting. It looks awesome. The
I thought it
turf has
looked really
come through
good. I
really
mean,
good.
what it looks like from a distance and walking up on top
Yeah.
of it, it's probably a little different.
And I just talked to Kevin. He's kind of proofing our beta site, so we should have a website up real soon, like maybe within a week, and then we'll keep updates on there, visual and timeline.
Do we have a price point? Did we talk about that and I'm just forgetting?
We're going to be bringing back to you
Okay.
the budget
Okay.
for it that gives the suggestions of price points. And, this one is going to be, there's a bunch of different types of golfers that we're going to be appealing to here. So there's going to be sort of a range of pricing based on who we're trying to attract at a certain time, so.
And I know with our partnership with Learning Links, there was programming involved in that.
Yep.
Is that something that will start right away as well, or is that like
Yeah.
roll into that?
That'll be very much tied into the grand opening.
Okay.
You know, regular programming will depend on when we open. Yeah. But that'll be a big part of the grand opening. And it's just really hard to plan anything right now without knowing when we're going to open.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Well, we're
excited.
getting a little better. We got some rain and some
Yeah.
sun and.
Oh, got a lot of rain.
I got my clubs in the back of my car whenever it's ready.
There you go.
I
And
don't
we're getting a
normally
lot
keep
of
them in there,
interest. I
but-
mean, a lot of people calling and some upset people that we're not open yet.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure we'll always
So-
have that, so.
And if you get that, defer them to me. I'm happy to talk to them. And I'll defer them to Matt. I'll defer them to the mayor.
Yeah,
No.
Stops here.
Just appreciate it, again, all the work that you're doing, you know, leading, you know, with you and Brian, leading a lot of the work that's
Yeah.
going on behind the scenes with those bids, because I appreciate how much additional work it is on top of your day job, right?
Yep.
So it's a lot of work, and it's not easy work. It's really detailed stuff, and working with, you know, being our own general contractor is a big deal. It's become kind of a best practice for communities, but it's so important, and it's, you know, oftentimes very thankless work. So I did want to very much call out that, you know,
Yeah,
the
appreciate
appreciation
that.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mark, you hit it with Tim. He's a local. He's passionate about his family's passionate about golf, and yeah, we know he's going to do it right.
And he's gonna help us and watch our dollars spent.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, so. And he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
That's the other part, so.
I guess if anybody's interested too, that's watching, I didn't realize there was like really good descriptions of each hole on the barrierfreegolf.com about the loop, so that's cool too.
Yep.
All right, anything else for John? Otherwise, won't make him hang around any longer, or sorry to come up here, but it was a great report, John. Great report. All right, thank you, sir. We vote, I can't remember.
We did.
We did.
We did? So
Yep.
we're all done with it,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna move to item 8, which is adopt resolution 2023-50 and ordinance 1034, approving a preliminary site and building plan and preliminary plat and zoning ordinance amendment for structures.
Mayor and Councilmember, this is a site that you've seen before with structures down on Old Audubon Road. They have come forward with a separate, or a new preliminary and site and building plan that was reviewed by the Planning Commission and recommended for approval. So I'll turn it over to Liz, who will go through the presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mayor and council members. We have a preliminary site and building plan, preliminary plat, and zoning ordinance amendment proposed for the project known as Structures Incorporated. The site in question is highlighted in the above aerial in blue. It's located more on the southeast side of the city. The property abuts Old Audubon Road and Ravoux Road on its east and west sides. Additional industrial uses are on the north side, and then residential to the south side. Excuse me, we're at the second step in our three-step process for this project, which is the preliminary, so more of a technical analysis in this step. A couple views into the site, just looking from both roads of Ravoux and Old Audubon, if we need to refer back to that. It's basically an agricultural site, open property today, so the hopes is to develop the property as it was intended. The history of the site does date back to 1997 when it was platted as an outlot, and then in 2018 was when you saw the first concept plan come through for a one-building layout for a warehouse, industrial office building. Then they came back in April 2019 for the preliminary and rezoning of the site. That's when the site was officially rezoned to a planned industrial district, PID 9 to be exact. Then they did come back a year after that with a revised preliminary plan. They did move the building situated to a different portion of the site than it was originally shown. They have been dealing with poor soils on the site, so the revisions that have really occurred over the course of the years are really due to coping with the poor soils out there. And then in July of 2022 is when you saw a concept plan for a 3-building, 3-lot layout. They went down to smaller buildings, again, to kind of deal with the poor soils and dealing with atypical foundation systems, which are financially burdensome to construct. And then they came back in November of 2022 for that 3-building and 3-lot layout for their preliminary, and then an amendment to their PID 9 district for the 3-lot layout. So that was the last time you saw this project and plan, was in November 2022. But since that time, they have revised their plan again to pare it down to a 2-lot, 2-building layout. So they took out one of the buildings from the plan, which was the middle lot and building, and are just sticking with the 2 buildings on the edges of the site on the east and west sides. So since they're, again, revising their plan, that's why they're here again at preliminary to do a preliminary site and building plan, a plat, and then an amendment to that PID 9 district to accommodate that layout.
I don't know if I saw it in there with the 2-building, are the buildings a little bigger?
No.
No?
Nope, they didn't. The buildings did not grow in size. Basically, the exterior storage area around the buildings have
Okay.
grown. So the site that we're dealing with is a little over 5 acres in size, rectangular in format. There's currently a holding pond that the city owns or maintains on the south side of the site. Also on the south side is a 125-foot transmission line easement on the south side there. So there are portions of the plan that actually encroach into this area. Xcel Energy has ownership over this area, so they have been engaged with Xcel Energy in terms of their plan, and Xcel is amenable to the plan that they've put forth, as long as they stay within certain height limitations within that area. So they are proposing portions of their parking lots and pavement, and then some of their fencing, but all of that stays within the realm of the limitations that Xcel has agreed to.
Liz, again,
Yeah.
I didn't drive out there this time and I kind of forgot. Is there a tower on this property, or is it just
It's-
line spanning?
It's kind of kitty corner. It's on a neighboring residential property, kind of where I'm highlighting my,
As I was gonna say, I didn't think.
But the
there was a
wires
tower in
do.
there, but just the wires.
yep. They currently have vehicle access onto Old Audubon Road, which comes from a shared drive that's shared with the other neighboring industrial properties to the north. So this has always been the intention, to utilize this existing private drive for access into the site. And they do plan to do that with their plan. So again, this is kind of a 3-faceted request, a preliminary site and building plan for the construction of 2 new buildings. Each of the buildings will have their own exterior storage yards as well. Preliminary plat for 2 lots, so each building would have their own lot. And then an amendment to the PID 9 zoning district to accommodate the 2-lot layout. So the site plan is shown on this slide here. If you remember from last time, or when you last saw this, the middle building was basically situated in between these buildings, which effectively kind of pared down the exterior storage area. So basically, everything that's kind of shaded in the gray and delineated with more of a bolder black line is where the exterior storage would occur behind the buildings. And then the buildings and the parking would be oriented out more towards the street sides of things. Again, Arbor Drive will be the main access into the site, which each lot would have equal access to their storage yards, and then for the west lot, it would provide access to their parking lot on the front side of the building. Another change shown from November of 2022 is they are proposing their parking lot for the east building to come directly off of Old Audubon Road. This is a recommendation coming out of Planning Commission to go with this layout. It does reduce some of the pavement that comes through the site as opposed to kind of wrapping around the exterior storage area to access this parking lot. The access onto Old Audubon Road is not a safety hazard from staff standpoint, and I think from Planning Commission standpoint, it makes sense for what's out there and the amount of cars and stalls that access off of that access point.
Can I ask a question about that while we have it up?
Yep.
I couldn't like visualize it when I went to look this weekend. How close does that access sit to like the neighbors?
To this access?
No,
Or-
the like one that would be coming.
Residents to the south.
Yeah,
you're
to the
talking
resident.
about?
What-
Oh,
That's a distance away, because
It's
yeah.
I was trying to like picture it, but
And I can even pull up an aerial too to show that, but it is quite a distance away from,
Do you happen to know how wide that easement is for the overhead wires?
125 feet.
125 feet.
Okay.
So
So-
it's
that's a good
probably like
approximation.
300 feet.
okay, so it's a good ways.
350
Okay.
feet
I just
away.
couldn't visualize it with nothing there. So
Yeah,
Because that entrance is more for cars there.
Right.
right,
The back one would be the trucks.
right.
So
Yep.
that wouldn't be that big a deal, I would think.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how it's been looked at in the grand scheme of things. It's only a vehicle entrance for 11 cars out there, so it doesn't have a huge weight of
But I think the
traffic.
intent of the developer is that people accessing that, kind of like the mayor is saying, it's really for vehicles for employees that are working there or, you know, customers who may be stopping in. This isn't a retail outlet, so it's not going to be a high-volume customer type of thing.
I think the other thing too is that when we look at, I pulled up the Carver County map, so I can see that when that corner right where the entrance is, just south of that is where the tower is that you
Yep.
were asking about.
Yep.
And then the actual lot, the entrance for the property owner is actually on the street around the corner from that, so it's not even like on that same street.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
well, they do kind of yeah.
Yeah, but there's like, yeah, I know what you're saying. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a house right here. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is it split in two lots for just future splitting purposes?
Yeah, so each of these lots, they would be able to sell them off then. Each of the buildings and their storage yards would be the
I guess I
purpose of
didn't
that.
understand why I wanted to
Yeah.
make it into lots.
Yeah, I don't have any real issue. I think just that, at least when the residents saw this, that was gonna be more of a grassy area with like a nice sign or the building and not a parking lot. So that was, I assume we haven't heard any more from any of the residents, but that was my only thought is that, I don't know that they
There
realized
was-
there'd be a parking lot. I don't think it's a huge deal, but.
Yeah, there was one resident that showed up to the public hearing that was held by Planning Commission last Wednesday, and that resident was supportive of the project.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to hear.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it'd be a big thing, but it was a shift from kind of probably what they originally heard, so.
Yeah. And
Is
they've
there-
been notified in every
Okay,
step
good,
of this, so.
Is there access from that parking lot to coming off Old Audubon to get into the yard? Or do you have to go around on Arbor to get in there?
Like a pedestrian access?
No, he's talking
Or-
about getting into the yard with.
Into the main
vehicles.
yard, is
You'd have to go
there?
on the north side there.
Yeah, you would have to go around.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking,
Yep.
but just hard to tell her.
So originally, this was supposed to be like the headquarters for structures. Is that still the case, or is no longer? We bought the Bird building. Okay, so yeah, so at this point now, it's just more, this becomes an investment property for you.
Unless you guys want it for apartment stuff, you say.
Good answer.
Yeah, so they're marketing this to sell to kind of those smaller storage type industrial users.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to be successful with this, I think, is what we've heard from them multiple times, so.
This type of use is, I've definitely had people approach me about this type of use. There's not much of this in Chaska right now.
Yep.
And could these, presumably the buildings could even be subdivided, so if you have like, you know, a tenant or a couple of tenants who, you know, wanted to share, you know, split the building, or weren't gonna use the whole thing, presumably it's still subdividable, right? Yeah. So I'll just build a suit inside, just basically shells, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, these are only 7,400 square foot buildings, so kind of those smaller scale industrial users. They'll have some dock space on the back for warehousing and indoor storage there too. But I think what we've heard from the applicant is the storage area is kind of that selling piece for each of these buildings. And they'll be delineating off that south edge of the site with a privacy fence, so that'll kind of wrap around all of the parking area and exterior storage area, and then kind of wrap up into the building on the east side there. They'll be doing a level of landscaping as well, so doing some coniferous planting on the south side of that new proposed parking lot area, and then plantings all along that southern fence stretch to kind of help break it up a little bit more with more of a softer edge there. They just have to meet our understory requirement, otherwise it meets the city's ordinance. The buildings will be the same in terms of design, so they'll be using a mix of a modular brick type material, metal paneling, some stucco or eaves, and then some stone on the front entrances there. So this does meet the city's ordinance for industrial buildings, and again, both buildings will be designed the same to provide that cohesive look. So just a couple things, again, to work on for final, so that understory requirement to be met. And then just ensuring with, there's only a couple areas where there's fencing kind of facing out towards the street, so ensuring that there's opaque panels being provided there, so that screening is achieved on all sides that's facing out towards the street. So with that, you'll be making two motions tonight. One would be adopting resolution number 2023-50, which is approving the preliminary site and building plan and preliminary plat for structures. And then adopting ordinance number 1034, approving the zoning ordinance amendment to PID 9. Happy to answer any other questions you have. Otherwise, Jeremy is here with structures too, if you have any questions for him.
I don't know, we've seen this a number of times, and it just really hasn't changed a lot other than, you know, down at two buildings, I guess. It's a pretty big change, but I mean, makes sense now when you look at it that way. And, you know, the soil conditions that they had to worry about, so. I personally don't have any questions, I don't know about anybody else.
It's a comment.
Questions have already been answered. so.
Yeah, no questions, just a comment. It sounds like, you know, you've been down this has been a long road for you, so I'm sure you're just looking to finish this and, you know, move on to the next phase. So, you know, that's one of those things that I think in the big scheme of things, you know, like as Matt mentioned earlier, that, you know, this is a product we can use more of this inventory in Chaska, and, you know, what comes along with this type of products is it comes along with jobs, it comes along with, you know, more industry, better tax base, things like that, even in a relatively small way. But it's important that, you know, people continue developing stuff like this, and I think this is really good, and certainly appreciate you, you know, continuing to invest in Chaska too. Yeah. You can make a motion?
Absolutely, somebody can make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-50.
I have a second.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Wong, second by Councilmember Hubbard, again, resolution 2023-50, approving preliminary site and building plan and preliminary plot for structures. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Now I'd look for a motion to adopt ordinance 1034, approving the zoning ordinance amendment to PID 9.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield,
Second?
second by Councilmember McGraw. Again, it's motion adopt ordinance 1034, approving zoning ordinance to a PID 9. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. All right, there we go. Are you thinking moving dirt and working this year?
We're open.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you gotta come back one more time. Maybe. Maybe. All right,
Maybe not.
moves us,
Trying to be facetious when I said it.
moves us to bills. Anyone?
I do have some questions on bills. So let's see, I've got 5 questions tonight. Let's see, on page 3, there's one for Axon Enterprise, and Axon I know is our vendor for their, for our body cams and such. This one says fleet package, and I'm assuming that was for the Chaska vehicles, correct? The
Yep,
Chaska
it's for the, yeah, it's for our fleet. It's the licensing and storage for the cameras in the car.
Okay. And so that's another, like a different license than the body cams, right? Okay. Page 5, there's an item for CenterPoint Energy, and then it lists, a bunch of these, bunch of utilities. So the question wasn't so much specifically about the utilities, but it's more of a general question. It says, as we're kind of looking towards, a number of things moving forward, but, cost being one of the biggest drivers, is that, are there opportunities? Because, we look at this is like what's almost like a, $18,000 bill, it's $19,000 bill for like a monthly utility bill. Are there opportunities when we like construct new buildings or retrofit some of these buildings to, achieve like a lower energy footprint without like going crazy with like some of the really expensive options of like, the LEED certifications, which are, usually not a good ROI. But are there, opportunities for like solar or things that can help us defer some of the costs and get a better like, ROI for our tax base?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's, that's part of the whole design of the new buildings we have, but it's also stuff that we do in our existing buildings too. I mean, like, for instance, our energy rebate program that we have through the city, we not only use it with businesses in the community, but we also use it on our own facilities too, to help invest dollars into things that over time are going to be lower energy users. So when we can, we do that.
Okay, is like solar something that we're looking at for longer term for like a,
Yeah, I don't know that solar will, solar is something that our agency is doing.
Yeah.
It may not necessarily make sense for the actual facility that we're doing it, because a lot of times that solar is much more cost-effective at a utility scale than it is at a single-use scale. So some of the, maybe it will be, but it's really got to depend on that, sort of the economic analysis on that.
yeah, and ultimately, I'm kind of looking at it from the economic perspective, because I know that, like someone who's selling solar for residential will say, well, in like 15 years, whatever, pay for itself, depending upon what exposure you have, how big your roof is, and stuff like that. So it's like, well, in theory, if you're like, not paying for like, you're paying for like, like 1/10 of your electric bill because the solar's offsetting the rest, in theory, it should be a good investment. But, but what's the, is, like, to your
A lot of
point-
times the capital costs on those smaller projects
Yeah.
way outweigh the savings that you can have on,
That's the
and that's where the
Yeah.
utility scale projects make a lot more sense a lot of times.
Because then they could get like a larger footprint, so they get the more revenue off, or as they go on a month-to-month basis. Yeah, okay, gotcha. So page 8, there's an item for, it looks like it was misspelled, Rainy Falls Ventures, and I'm assuming this is Rainy Falls Ventures.
Yep.
Correct, okay. Yeah, because I'm assuming that's for like fire, police, decontamination.
Yeah, particularly with our fire, like if we have a major fire, instead of taking the equipment and putting it through an extractor, we'll actually send that out to get cleaned. It's really making sure that the firefighters have clean equipment to be able to use.
Right, clean and safe for them, right? Page 17, there's an item for, it looks like a credit balance refund for Open Door Labs. Is that the real estate company?
Yeah, well, so that's a residential home, and they had a credit on their utility bill that whenever a property closes, so I'm not sure if that was the title company that they ended up using, but basically what happens if somebody has a credit on their balance when they sell their home, we have to refund that credit to them, and then whoever buys the home then starts over a new utility account.
Okay, so we don't have like necessarily a business relationship with them. This is purely because of a home sale.
Yep.
With credit. Okay, so this really has nothing to do with us.
No.
Wouldn't be anything to do with the downtown
No,
acquisition?
this actually was at 110951 Von Hertzen Circle, which is just a house in the middle of Von Hertzen Circle.
Yeah.
Last question. So on page 27, there's an item for Ziegler, and there was a motor operators for something, and it was cut off.
It's for substations, and what this allows us to do is if we have to trip a breaker, that we don't have to be like within like touching it to do it. We actually had an issue with this. The last time West Creek had an issue where there was a big fireball that came out. We would have liked to have had this equipment because what it allows you to do is stand back 300 feet from the breaker to be able to automatically switch it without having to have a person actually go up to do that.
Yep, so this is like, there's a safety issue. In
This
So
is a safety issue.
It's a remote control.
Yep.
Effectively, it's a remote control for those giant breaker
Yep.
switches, right?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Motion to pay the bills?
Moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard to pay the bills. Discussion? Elise?
Councilmember Hatfield?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard?
Yes.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Councilmember Grah?
Yes.
Mayor Winchell?
Yes. All right, moves us to other business. Councilmember Hatfield.
Yeah, a few things. Taste of Chaska was a great event. It's nice to see everyone after a long winter. I feel like that was like our first kind of outing to see everyone.
Reemergence.
Yeah, like, hello. So it was nice to see everyone and all the local businesses and restaurants, and the food truck was fun. So missed being in the park, but this park was good too, I guess. So
75 and sunny didn't hurt either.
no, it sure didn't. I was getting very sweaty. But it was nice of Southwest Transit to be running bus service as well. So there was I felt like there was lots of parking. It was easy to cross 61. There was, the bus then going too. So it was an accessible event and just all around good. So that was a lot of fun to get back to. There's a few events coming up that I wanted to mention. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting. And I thought it was really cool that the Parks and Rec Department was doing a mental health open forum. So a clinical psychologist will actually be at the community center on the 18th from 7 to 8 o'clock for discussion on mental health. So you can bring topics and questions or just come listen and learn. I thought that was really nice because it's very important that we talk about it so that it is safer and easier to talk about. So that was that one. And then a few things. Coffee with a Cop this Thursday at 9 at Caribou. Which Caribou? I'm not sure.
It's a mystery.
The north one, it looks like. And then you can get a lot of coffee with cops coming up. So then on Friday, the Minnesota Law Enforcement fundraiser for Special Olympics will be at Duncan. That's always fun. You can go donate. I think you can get a free donut, but don't quote me on that because I couldn't actually find that. But I feel like there was free donuts involved last time.
Was that if you dumped a bucket of water over a police officer's head or something?
I'm pretty sure if you donate, then you can, Councilmember Wong beat me there last time, so it is a competition to see who can get down there first and take a picture with everyone and donate. So that's my challenge to the rest of the council, who will be there first, or who will donate the most. I don't know.
Starting at
What
6
day is that?
a.m.?
That's on Friday at 6 a.m. to 11, which,
I can guarantee you, 6 a.m. Nope.
well, I get up to go to the pool, so,
Not happening.
I will not be.
Not a doubt.
well, you can just go later, but you should still go. Anyways, there's a food distribution on Thursday at noon. And then just a reminder that the safety camp, the Chaska Police Department safety camp is coming up in July 5th and 6th. So lots of things coming up, especially with the police department. They're doing a lot. And then the other thing I always have been liking to mention and giving an update on, we had another Downtown Business Alliance meeting this past Friday. So a few things and updates there, really as far as to the rest of the council, so you guys are aware of the concerns currently brought forward by the businesses remain around parking. So I know staff is doing a good job in Bolton and Mink as well of kind of keeping a pulse on parking, specifically Walnut and Pine, and what that looks like, but also keeping it safe. It's hard, like I can't even tell me, like I drive through there all the time and I feel like there's a lot of accidents just waiting to happen, but also we want to make sure there's parking for the businesses, so it's kind of a touch and go thing, but I know staff met on Friday about it, so there'll be updates coming there, but that, as far as so you guys are aware, that's kind of the main concern of businesses right now. And then in the Herald was this pink sheet. So this month it's a scavenger hunt. You can go to 84 places, but there's some specific ones you can post pictures of to win some prizes. So hashtag Chaska Charm, and then take these pictures and you can win that. And then also a bunch of the businesses and their specials or what's going on that month, and then how to get around. Also, all the summer concerts and events are listed on here, so look for these in your Herald on the third Thursday of the month. Some other things going on. That was a scavenger hunt. Orange Ball Creative is doing a social media or creative business boot camp, I guess they're calling it, but a social media for the businesses that's free for them to come learn how to leverage social media, so that's nice. The weekly business video spotlight, there's lots of videos. So then the mayor is doing a video, Taylor and I have been doing videos, so there's lots of video footage of the businesses going out. And then they also have access to a farmer's market booth space that they can have for free for one farmer's market. And as well as signage, so free sandwich board signage. There's, I don't know if you want to give an update, you may be better at giving this update, but the rear entrance portion.
Yeah, so you'll actually see at your next meeting on June 5th, we'll be coming back with some revised guidelines to the storefront improvement loan program. We're gonna change the name to reflect that we are adding kind of the rear entrances and items that you saw, earlier this year with the revised guidelines for that. So more to come.
Yeah, thank you. So that's coming back to us, so.
We're also looking at, with that one, and I think this is a good idea from Elise, is to have it be sort of partially forgivable loan program. So having a portion that, it's always been just a loan, but to try to tie a forgivable portion of the loan based on criteria. So it might be on how long they stay, like maybe each year something just writes off, things.
Just for the back entrance?
No,
or
no, for really creating sort of this whole policy that deals with storefronts, the back, and signage and all that kind of stuff, and creating a portion that would be sort of a forgivable loan, if somebody stays in the business for so long, and then have the actual loan portion of it. So you'll see that come back too.
So it's an incentive for them to stick around
Yep.
after that, yep.
Yep.
And it's good to keep signing up for the weekly emails from Bolton and Mank, so that you can kind of hear what's happening, what's coming up, what closures. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if I missed anything for downtown, but I think that is it. Yeah.
Why we're kind of in that same location, are they, is it still the hope that right around July 1st that the river crossing will be open? Is that still the plan?
Mm-hmm.
So I see today they didn't, I don't think there was much, must have been too wet.
It's because they had a big pool down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I get, I'm sure we all get it all the time, and I just want to make sure I know that that's a goal, and they've been pretty good about hitting goals and doing it on the days they say. So I just wanted to know that I don't ever say July 1, I just say early part of July.
Yeah.
And to kind of look, I mean, it's helpful for, at least for me, to like being able to see kind of like what happened and what's coming up. So like they mentioned last week, specific to probably the bridge, is they began the bridge deck work. They completed water valve work near First Street. So some of those things happening down at that end did start last week. And then some things coming up. It's kind of interesting because, yeah, they're working on like both sides, but you see so much action happening on the north side, but then there are things happening down on the south side, so.
Yeah, right now it's really sort of that middle part that there's not a lot of stuff happening.
Which is the most visible, like you're driving on Fourth Street and you're like, nothing
But
is
it
happening.
makes it nice because it's accessible still.
But that was always get the north and the south done
Yep.
so that we can get better
Get the
movement
middle, yep.
and then fill the middle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I like the plan. I think it's a good plan. Like I said, I know that it's frustrating for people for the 8 weeks that it's closed. But, compared to what our original plan was, there's gonna be 8 weeks where it's gonna be open that we hadn't considered. So, it's just, we've talked a lot about it. You still can move around very easily downtown. It's just different. And nobody likes change but I think if you come down here and want to go to a business, you're gonna find out it's actually not that bad. I look at it, sometimes it's easier. I stop at 41 and I go right across now. I don't have to wait.
Yeah, I think it's discovering new routes
Yeah,
and
it's
really
just-
thinking through before you, what side you're gonna be on, what route you probably is best to take.
I think it was really helpful to have Taste of Chaska last week too.
Yeah.
Because we had so many people, because there was a lot of people that were sort of worried about, is anybody gonna come down to Taste Chaska? Are they gonna be too concerned about the traffic? To me, what that showed is, if people wanna come, they'll come.
They'll come.
And that they can come, and that there's places for them to park, and that there's ways for them to get around.
And they really utilize what we've been trying to say
Yeah.
through all these years is, that we have parking on that side and you can, and especially with 41 closed, it was very, when I came down a hill, it was just a steady flow of people coming through.
Was there good ridership on the Southwest shuttles?
So.
Okay.
It's like, I think that, if I looked at the lot, I'd say maybe there was like, 30, 40 cars and, when I was up there on
Okay.
both sides. It wasn't super great, but, I think that part of it's that there weren't, people didn't seem to really know that was out there or knew but weren't sure because there wasn't like really good signage. So, I've raised those concerns with staff at Southwest Transit so they can work with events to help coordinate that better. But I think that, the service itself was really good. I mean, the people who wrote it, they were like, love the fact that you just like hopped on and there
You
they
got
are.
down there, you didn't have to stress about navigating if you didn't want to.
So
One
service
other,
is great, yeah.
sorry, I was just gonna, unrelated to that. So are you done with that? I was just gonna say, one other thing that I thought of, because I thought you guys were done talking, I'm sorry, is just a reminder that the streets you're driving on are residential streets, so be mindful of children, pets, people walking, and stop and roll back on your wheels for 2 seconds before you go from the stop sign. You're welcome. It's not hard to stop at a stop sign. But I will also say I did see the police department had the speed trailer, thank you, on Stoughton last week. And I assume it's other places too, but that's appreciated. There's a lot of people flying down Stoughton, and I know other roads too, so that's nice to see that there's, they're definitely keeping an eye on that, so. Okay, now I'm done.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Grau?
Okay, question first. The Hazeltine property north of Chaska, I'm just curious, they installed a bunch of black short fencing.
Soap fence.
What's that, do we know what that's for? It's a lot.
I
So
actually, I was trying to get a hold of you today. Oh, you want to go?
I may know the answer, but
Okay.
if you know the answer.
Well, I
please.
got it from Clark,
Okay.
that Hazeltine is going to be getting some excess dirt from the Costco project and possibly the apartment project, and they're going to be putting it there. Is that what?
That was part of kind of what the group doing the apartment project negotiated with Hazeltine when they came through the process. Hazeltine was worried about the view from the golf course. And so the developer that's doing the apartments there, I think did a nice job of working with Hazeltine to come up with a solution to try and enhance the berming and do some planting on top of that for them. So although that wasn't anything we could have ever required of them, that's something that the developer did a nice job with Hazeltine to go above and beyond.
Yeah, I drove by and I saw them putting it
Yeah,
up.
I actually got
Put it up and I was just like,
I got 2 phone calls on it. What's going on? And I thought it was our digging that water line that we have to tie into, but it didn't seem quite right. But I got I talked, actually, Clark called me about some other things that I needed to sign, and I asked him about it. He said that now they might be taking some Costco excess dirt as well, and probably gonna fill in some low spots they might have. I don't know.
second thing I had was, had the opportunity, and I haven't been down there, shame on me, but Lions Park with the base Chaska Classic, not quite done with the shelter, but just commenting how great the shelter, it looks already and will look. Just a really nice, I really like the steeple and the wood underneath there, and it just looks super nice.
Was the fountain installed yet?
Not yet.
Fountain? Yeah. I'm excited for that.
The restrooms were not yet ready yet either, but I get it. But no, it was good to, like I said, I hadn't been down there a long time. It just, for someone who when they first bought their house, went to that park a lot in that area and knew what was there, and just kind of looking at it now, just was great. And I know that, the city did a good job. They kind of roped off the space, but had access to underneath, so concessions could be sold and shelter could be taken in all the rain that occurred this weekend, which made playing baseball difficult. And then lastly, just kind of fun, because things catch my eye that are strange and fun and cool about Chaska. This is the story of Philip the pheasant. You heard about Philip the pheasant?
Yes.
Right, so I just thought it was cool. I'm gonna say the name, someone correct me last name. Bird Flores is the son. The volunteer firefighter is
Stephanie Flores.
Flores. Really just wrote a book inspired by an actual pheasant that came and visited the fighters when they were filling up the trucks during kind of COVID, and kind of a children's story to help children deal with change and difficulty and through COVID. So kind of just a fun, like I said, it caught my attention because kind of like, what? And Phillips, just because it's spelled F-I-L-L-U-P, like Philip.
Fill up the trucks.
So fill up the truck. So just kind of a fun little connection to the city of Chaska, and where I pulled information is actually a story that was on Fox 9. Kind of a cool project associated with her capstone project at her high school. So
Yeah, because it's Stephanie's daughter. I'm not sure what her name is.
the first name in here says it's Bird, B-I-R-D. So, but yeah, just kind of a fun little connection that caught my eye, and great job.
Just go out there, that pheasant will
That
come.
pheasant, he'll come up to your vehicle, and then as you drive out to the east, he'll follow you all the way along. And he's huge.
There was, when Kevin and I were doing, during COVID, when Kevin and I were doing some filming out there, I mean, we had to stop. It was like, what's it gonna do, And there was 2 of them there at that time.
Yeah.
So,
It's
There- it's
actually
out of-
at the municipal service.
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
There's always
It's-
pheasants in
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's-
know there was like,
There's one particular one that is
Philip.
very well known.
Philip.
really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that was, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Philip. So
I've seen Philip then, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
He's not afraid of people.
So I just thought that was, like I said, caught my attention, caught my eye. I thought it was kind of a cool story. So just wanted to recognize that and say that was pretty cool. So
Awesome.
that is all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Michael.
Let's see, so, for some of the past events, we had Christmas in May, which, was on May 6th. But unfortunately, because of weather, we didn't actually get a chance to volunteer, but it sounds like we still were able to get some homes taken care of, and which was the most important part of it. So, it's good to know that we're still able to help people, and then looking forward to next year and getting a big crew out to do a lot of good things. Also talking about Taste of Chaska, I was super happy to see the great turnout out there, and it was just phenomenal to see like the crowds there. And I think that one of the things that I took away too was that, was something the mayor mentioned, which was that, with 41 closed, people really, really use that Cooper's parking lot, like really heavily. I've never seen so many cars in that Cooper's parking lot. We always talk about this being an overflow for Fireman's Park, but that kind of speaks to the fact that, 41 was such an obstacle to use that parking because.
Yeah, 'cause the safety of
because
crossing.
safety,
Yeah.
right? So hopefully in the future we'll be able to like make better use of that because there's parking that people are willing to take. It's just, or willing to use, but it's just, are they willing to, cross the road to get there?
Well, we'll have that hawk system there.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask
That will
if
be
that was.
really good.
I
yeah.
think that it looks like they might be putting pedestals set in concrete.
John's
I was gonna say, I thought I
Kind of
saw
in
that.
that
favorite thing
general,
to
so.
monitor.
What's that?
Said John's favorite thing to monitor,
People don't run into those,
Yeah.
just like the other
the
ones.
pedestals.
All those
If it's
pedestals.
broken, you're gonna hear about it.
Yep. And then Chaska Bash was on May 12th as a fundraiser for Chaska Hawks for the high school. They've done a lot of great work over the years, generating a lot of, for a lot of the things that are at the high school. So, that was this past Friday. And also, so upcoming, there's a Memorial Day program at Veterans Park, and if it's, that'll be at 10 a.m. on the 29th. And if there's rain, it'll be inside the VFW. The farmers markets start on starting June 21st, so that's coming up. It'll be from 4 to 7 in the afternoons.
5 to 8.
Sorry, 5 to 8 in the afternoons. I thought it was 4 to 7 before.
4 to
August
7
1st.
is later in the
Oh,
summer
so
when
it's
it gets,
flip-flop.
yeah.
Okay, I got
Yep.
it backwards, right. So it's 5 to 8, and then later on after August 4th, because it's going 4 to 7, so that way it gets the better sunlight. So looking forward to that, and then also Fire and Ice is coming up July 14th and 15th, and July 28th through 30th is River City Days. One other bit of news from Southwest Transit is that good news is Southwest Transit has officially hired a new CEO. His name is Eric Hansen, and he is the city administrator from Tracy, Minnesota. I was gonna say Tyler, but it's Tracy, Minnesota. And so he's the city.
Tyler's next door.
Tyler's right next door, that's why I
It's my,
almost.
it's my stomping ground. I know RTR, Russell
Yep.
Tyler Ruther, yep, I know that area. Cool.
It's my wife's old stomping grounds, that area.
RT, is it?
RTR is the like the school district.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So the city administrator from Tracy, Minnesota, he actually comes to us originally from Colorado. And what's interesting about his background is that he has a background, originally in marketing, but then was actually the mayor of a town in Colorado, and then was a county commissioner there, and worked on a large transit project as part of that. And then, but has also been, working in the civil service side as a city administrator. So he has a really interesting background, kind of to bring to that. And, I have to thank Councilmember Hatfield because she was on the search committee this year. And, it was a long haul between, the other search we've done and the search that happened this year. So we wanted to thank Councilmember Hatfield for all of her work there, because I know there was a lot of time commitment that went behind that too, and a lot of hard work and a lot of interesting conversations.
You're welcome.
So, and I also want to give you also a thanks to, so this is sharing my appreciation too, that for a lot of the work that you and Elise and other staff members have done on the Highway 41 stuff, because I know I sit in some of the meetings that happen with Downtown Business Alliance, and some of the meetings can be very contentious and be very challenging, and there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, and there's kind of a labor of love for everyone who's involved with this. And I know that people get very passionate about this because for the business owners, it's their livelihood, it's their life, right? And for a lot of the people who are, like, for us serving, this is about our community, it's about our homes, and for the people and staff, this is a really, really important commitment. This is really, it's, everything we do right here, right? So I wanted to express my gratitude for all the work that's happened to this date and all the work that's going to continue happening, because it's, sometimes very thankless, sometimes not as appreciated as it should be, but I wanted to, let you know especially that it is very much appreciated, because it's hard work, and sometimes there's a lot of like challenging conversations that do happen with this, and we appreciate everything you guys do. And so I'd like to end it with that, so thank you.
Thank you, sir. Totally agree with you on that. A lot of work. We've been talking about this project so long, and just now it's here, and we're still got a lot of work to do, so. All right, you're up.
Side note, it's kind of interesting. So my business is located in a neighboring community that is undergoing road reconstruction on their main street. So it's like being able to see the business owner perspective of it, because it was supposed to really impact me. But because of the bank's access, they had to scale it back on the one street that's abuts against, and I only have one interest in out of my business, so it's like right there. It will impact me though, because they do have to close that whole road down at some point in time, for safety perspectives. But it's interesting to be on the other side of the coin as a business owner, and having that, ask the logistical questions and have the concerns, of, okay, not just, hey, are customers still gonna show up at my front door? Because my business is different. I'm a professional service. People make appointments to see me, As a retailer, I can understand those concerns and fears. But just the like conduction of business, Will I be able to park next to my business to haul my gear? Will I be able to haul trash to my dumpster? Will I be able to, will the water be shut off? Will the power be shut off? Like all those kind of questions, do come into everything. So there is a lot of hard work that is involved on everybody's end, in order to have like that buy-in, that community partnership for everything to work together. And I think one of the things that I've learned in being on this part of things is the communication of that at this moment, people are, I don't know the right word to use, but they're gonna patronize the businesses because they know the financial impact of the businesses, but the routines get disrupted, and it's the afterwards that we really need to dig in and make sure that we really help our fellow business owners down here, just to make sure to continue that support and, people conducting their business downtown and making that a habit again. So anyways, I wasn't gonna talk about that, but that's a good lead in, so. But it is weird, and I was giving their city administrator a really hard time, because,
Oh, that's good. I like when you get
well,
shamed
not
a
like,
hard
I
time.
was giving him a hard time, because I was like, you got it so easy right here, because I was a part of that business meeting, and anyways, he was smiling at me, so. But, okay, I don't have very much. I forgot to mention last meeting that I attended the elected leaders, Carver County elected leaders group meeting that happened a couple weeks ago. It's something that only happens like once a quarter, so it's kind of like, it's just more of an informational, and there's just a lot of, there's some city staff from the various cities, and then there's some township people and some commissioners and, some mayors and council members of various cities. So what they talked about topic-wise was road construction. But it's just very interesting. There's so much, and obviously the Arboretum, the Highway 5, that area is a big focus. But all the work, the work preliminarily to kind of get to that point, on 82nd Street. And things of that nature, but they basically kind of showed out just in the county, like the next 5 years, kind of what was slated, and just, it's not just here, it's everywhere. I mean, our county is growing, and with that comes road construction, whether that's a county project, a city project, or a state project. There's just various projects that are happening, and that will be happening. So it was interesting, and I did not know that that they have a timeline in order to do 61 to reclaim it back. and
Yeah,
they're
it's
trying to
a-
get an extension on that, but.
For the turnback fund.
Turnback
Yeah.
fund, yeah, they're trying to get an extension on this turnback fund, so it's learning new things, but I had that meeting. What else? I know you guys mentioned a lot. Otherwise, the West Creek groundbreaking or celebration ceremony, I went to that. That was really nice to see that project come into fruition. I'm excited to see it sounded like maybe March next year, they're thinking that it will be complete. And then, yeah, Christmas in May, well, that didn't officially happen. I had the opportunity to help paint at the early start, or the first start, early start, Larry.
We're gonna have another opportunity if you wanna join.
So, that was kind of fun.
I'll send it out to you guys soon.
Yeah. And then to see the work done, because one of my neighbors was one of the people that was, having some work done for projects. So that was nice to see. That's about it for me. Happy Memorial Day to those that served. I think it's a good recognition. Councilmember Wong had mentioned the ceremony, but just thanking our men and women that have put the service in for our country, so.
Awesome, thank you.
Can I say one more thing I forgot to say?
Oh, Officer Julie.
Yeah, Officer Julie is gonna be on the rooftop of the Dunkin'. Because it's cop on a rooftop. And so I heard a rumor that she'll be on the rooftop of Dunkin'.
You
So.
too, Peshek?
Don't tell workers.
Oh, you know the surprises.
Not a surprise? Oh, no.
I'm glad I had
I guess, maybe there'll be a cop on a rooftop.
Got a good ring to it.
You good?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Mr. Nate?
I have nothing to add.
Elise?
Just a quick update from the last meeting, actually from the last EDA meeting, we had tabled an item regarding the building center site. Since that time, Bremer Bank stepped up and they provided the letter that we needed them to, and we have since closed on the site. So it is now, the developer now owns the site, and
They're already working there.
yep,
So nothing needs to
We don't
come-
have to do
we
anything.
don't have to do anything else.
So now do we have to untable that and close it, or
At some point.
That's a good question.
Do we have
I'll look at the
to take any, or
attorney.
can we just leave it?
do we have it?
I'd have to look back and see how we handled
Well,
that, but
we-
that is the sort of unspoken policy of if you table something indefinitely, it just sort of dies there. That's not the approach that was taken, if I recall, at the last
I think we put a
meeting.
date to it.
Right.
think we said
So
the
at
next
that point, we
meeting.
would just remove
That-
it from the agenda. That could be done.
I thought we said at the next EDA meeting.
Yeah, well, it's not tonight, so we'll do it.
I didn't think about that tonight, no.
Or was
No.
it council? I don't remember now.
It was EDA.
It was EDA?
The action we took that night was perfect.
Yeah. Did its job.
Sometimes the best action is no action.
Yes.
Jake?
No updates. Just that I'll follow up on that last question.
Just a reminder that we'll go 3 weeks now before the next meeting because of Memorial Day, and then June 5th, we will have a work session that night.
I will not be at the June 5th meeting.
Oh.
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be the update on the buildings, right?
Yeah,
Is there a lot of us gone?
I
There's at least
already
one other.
told them, yeah.
Well,
Like I
both you two are
said,
gone?
yeah, I
There's still three.
might be able to, like I said, come late.
Probably
Well-
not, probably not.
let me think about it.
So I'm coordinating with them this week on their schedule. Yeah.
I might come up with a different strategy. Let me just think about it.
But like I said, I can still meet over the work session.
That scares me.
Yeah, it scares me not to have the girls here too, to be honest.
We could get some stuff done then.
I'll just see if we can drive back from Mackinac faster.
Do that, get it.
Well, I know,
right.
a work session, you could call it a work session on the road, right? I played this game once.
After me.
You know, that is a good point. We could have a work session, you can do a work session online.
Because I did this once.
Yeah, but
from
you're
Texas.
gonna be busy. You can't physically be.
Oh, that will be I'll be like, okay,
I'll figure something.
go get
I'll
your
figure
bat.
something else out.
okay, go get your glove.
No, I'm not driving.
Taylor,
My sister
you
will
gotta
drive.
mute yourself.
I'm the snack person.
All right, just a couple things and we can close out tonight. I know Memorial Day was talked about, but there are some other events. The honor guard from both clubs visits all the cemeteries. They start at 7 in the morning, and we start out in Carver and work our way back into Chaska. So all of the cemeteries between Carver and Chaska get visits. That's generally in the Heralds, so you can watch the timing of that. According to the clubs, there is a small parade, I believe, just really going from 61 up Creek Road into the park. Again, that's all weather permitting, so that's according to Rich Daniels, the soon-to-be not commander. But that's what he was saying. So then, program, I really encourage people to really, this is the reason for the 3-day weekend. Please take time, if you have in the morning, it's, basically about an hour out of your time. Well worth it. They've always had really good speakers, and it's always been a very moving ceremony. So I hope that you really take the time out to stop at Veterans Park at 10 o'clock. I would say you want to be there by 9:30, especially if they're going to do that parade, because that would limit the travel in and out of there. So, and then today is also, we talked about a little bit, today is actually National Police Memorial Day, is that right, Chris? Yep. I can't get to it.
It is.
But
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure the wording was right.
Yeah.
That's, so that is today, May 15th.
Yeah, they were standing vigil at the police memorial all last night up till a ceremony they're having tonight.
Yeah. I know everything's community leaders, but our community leaders, where it's the school district and the 4 cities in the county, we did get the opportunity to meet the new ARB director, Andrew Kapinski. Seems like a really nice guy. He kind of got thrown in, our meetings are quite challenging at times, and he kind of got thrown into the mix of it, but I think he enjoyed himself, that it was pretty casual, so. Like I said, I think maybe there's probably some point we should invite him in, just say hi, and
Especially since
we always get all the
Arboretum is
credit.
in Chaska.
I always tell him all the time, I said, as long as you're in Chaska, we may as well take credit for it. So, I think that's about it. I don't think, no. Yeah, last call? Motion to adjourn? So moved. Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard. Again, we're back June 5th, before we actually hit the gavel.
Some of us.
Some of us will be back June 5th. No meeting on Memorial Day.
I just want to go set these things up. You.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All same sign. We are adjourned. We'll see you June 5th.
Hey, if you guys want to help me photograph 18 T-ball teams, you can.
Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
You guys are not invited to my vacation.
I've been a